Let's discuss trade estimates for corn and soybean seedings in the United States and the market week with Jerry Gidel right here on Connected Farmer, your channel to keep you up to date with the latest trends in agriculture and livestock. So Jerry, how are you today? We are bouncing back this Friday.
Yes, actually, it's been really kind of a choppy week. We seem to have even higher overnight scenarios, and then we weaker the next day, or and then we turn around and have a weaker overnight, and then get bouncing back. Basically, the scenario is that everybody's still trying to gauge exactly how long this conflict's going to last and what impact it might have on both the exports out of the region and also what might be happening with the 2022 plantings in Ukraine. It's an area that lots of people's estimates and both from Ukraine and for other people in the region, but it's going to be a kind of a total unknown until we get probably at least a month. It could be 6 or 7 weeks from now before we really know what's going on from there. So the market activity this week, though, is still hanging in there as we approach next week's USDA's March 31st plantings and quarterly stocks.
And there were some reports of planting in Ukraine amid the war.
Yes, yes, I did hear that myself. It seemed like that there was a ideas that some 150,000 hectares, and one of the latest ideas that's floating around is that there'll only be about 7 million hectares being planted. So it's not a huge amount, but there is some planting. And it's what I hear is down by Odessa, which is uh, the ocean port city down there that really is the primary export facilities. And interestingly enough, so far at least, there hasn't been any particular, uh, you know, military action in that part of the country. And I think even the Russians realize that it's highly important to, even if they win, they got to make sure they can export stuff. And the prize of that is the fact that they have wheat and corn and sunflowers that they can make money off of for both the country, for Russia and for the people involved. So I think that's the interesting twist on it right now is that that features out there. But it's at least encouraging that something's happening there because normally they supposedly would be somewhere between 20 and 30% of their barley plantings, according to some people at this point.
So let's jump right into the trade estimates. Starting from corn, we are seeing that the lowest uh, trade for corn is 89 million acres and the highest is 93.5 million acres.
Isn't that quite a wide open range there, to say the least, between the top and the bottom on seedings at this point? Uh, that really is an example of all the different people out there trying to understand how the U.S. producer out here is going to go ahead and make his economic decisions here. To some extent, over the winter time here, the idea was we'll hire input costs for fertilizer and chemicals and we and herbicides and things like that, and the corn that would really push beans over there. But the price ratios really weren't that exciting to do that. And then on this rally that we've had here over the last month, corn has really became the star because it was connected into the threat that the Chinese purchases were not going to be out of there, and so the Chinese would have to buy from us. Now, that hasn't happened, and that's getting people a little nervous. But to some extent, uh, my number in that range you just mentioned, which turned out to be an average right at 92 million, that the that is interestingly enough what the USDA's uh, February number was. Is that I'm not really thinking like the number's going to be a lot closer to 92 65 or 92.65 million bushels, because I really think that the heart of the Midwest here is going to likely, from really what I call from Lincoln, Nebraska to Columbus, Ohio, that particular area through there. The yield situations in that, even if the higher cost, there's the profitability is potentially there. Looking at your new crop prices. Now, the fringe areas, northern plains, southeast, stuff like that, we're going to lose something. But I'm not sure that we're going to end up having a real big setback in the corn numbers in the central U.S. But interestingly enough, too, is that the expectations that the trade has had versus what's come out from the USDA here over the last 6 years. The 3 years it was the number came out higher than expected. In 3 years it came out below expectations. 1 year we was actually 2.5 to 3 million on that. So it's going to be highly variable. And also the numbers from February, or excuse me, the numbers from March all the way to the fall can make a dramatic change. Just because planting intentions are intentions, they're not reality. Nobody's planting all that many acres here so far in March.
And the wide range is even wider when we are talk about soybeans.
Oh, yeah, the soybean scenario. Yeah, I just poke it down there too. I see your 86 million number against 92 million. That's quite a range. 6 million from top to bottom there on the highs and lows. That's it. As we just discussed some of the other issues here, people are looking at the scenario here of cost, the kind of results you might get along the way. I feel like too, there's also been this kind of mysterious groundswell that there should be opening up the CRP and we should get more acres in and things like that. Well, that's a great idea from the Exporter Association and from some of the other people out there, ethanol guys, and that's a great idea. We need more acres. Problem is that the acres we might get out of there is not going to be the best quality. I know that they keep talking there's a whole bunch of great acres sitting in the CRP, but I don't see that logical. Why somebody that could get 200 bushel corn to put it in the CRP, which is a 10-year retirement program. So anyway, that's the kind of scenario that happens every year in these things, trying to get things worked out. But the 88.7 number that the Reuters came up here on average, actually 700,000 more acres than the number we had back in February from the USDA's Ag Outlook scenario. And that the interesting twist on it here is that the combined number between those two is 180.7 on the total numbers. And the range of corn and soybean numbers has tended to be somewhere between 178.5 to maybe 180 on the out numbers in the past. So that could be interesting if we had that big a push. Now, the biggest thing is that oats is very strong, but barley is there too. We got rice. We've got cotton right now is that's a strong price. There's a lot of talk that's going to be really strong in the South, but the area where cotton is usually grown in Texas particularly isn't really hospitable to anything else but that. There is some cotton that's raised in the Mid-South and particularly Georgia and the Southeast, but how much would that take into the scenario? That's going to be another big question from there. But it's going to be always good to get those numbers behind us because I think that's what some of the trade wants to see here as we go further into the spring as to where we're starting our 2022 planning ideas.
Yes, and the hot topic right now is wheat. Wheat is mainstream, and what? Who do you think is going to pick up the demand from Egypt as Ukraine cannot supply as before?
that's one of those more than $1 million questions. But I kind of think two particular sources have really been volleying for that particular wheat that hasn't been able to move out of that. And we're really looking at a couple main buyers here. Is Egypt and also Turkey have been big buyers of both Russian and Ukrainian wheat because it's such a great access for them just across the Black Sea and into their part of the the Mid East and across the Caribbean from there. But the Indian wheat crop this year looks very good. Plus, they've had 2 or 3 years of pretty good crops, and they have put their hand in the air, thinking, "Hey, don't forget us. We got some opportunity to provide you some pretty good." And the fact that they know that they're not well known in the world of wheat around the world at this point, so they're more than willing to be a pretty price strong on these things, or in essence, pretty competitive price out there. So India is going to be one of those more important areas. The twist of it is that the USDA's numbers, we switch over here to the new crop years in a short time. So how much is an old crop? How much is new crop? It gets you kind of interesting as to how that all matches up when we start to see the data from the USDA in April. Now, by the way, there will not be any USDA S&D reports or production reports or anything like that, along with these acreage numbers and the stocks numbers that we get on March 31st. They just give those out, and then you get an opportunity to think about it for a couple of weeks, and then we'll have our USDA's April report, normally around the 10th. I'm not sure if it's the 10th or 11th, something like that.
And how have you seen the acreage for wheat in the United States?
Well, the wheat numbers also surround. We already know the winter wheat numbers are up about 700,000 acres, and the USDA was using a 48 million total crop size. That includes spring wheat and durum and things like that, which kind of projected numbers up about 6 or 700,000 on spring wheat, and also 100,000 or so on durum. And I'm thinking it was a little higher. My number was 48.2 versus the USDA's February number, and that because of the fact that it's pretty strong prices. Now I know that the futures prices on spring wheat maybe has not been as exciting as soft red was here in Chicago, because the investors were here in the Chicago market and pushed it higher. But the cash market prices and the fact that the standard price that they're trading Minneapolis at is 13% protein. Most of the protein that was in the wheat that was grown and actually harvested last year, you're talking 15, 16, 17%. So they get paid for that. And so I suspect that I think it's going to be a little higher. The average guesstimate, by the way, from the trade here is about 230,000 less than the February number that was released here. About a month ago.
All right, we'll wait and see, and we'll discuss again next week.
Yes, I think this market's is tentative about what's going to happen and waiting to see those numbers. But I think that number and U.S. weather situations in the Black Sea, what's going on with the second crop corn in Brazil. We've got many subjects and factors that are still ahead of us here in these corn, soybeans, and wheat prices. So hopefully we can keep our head straight and not get swiveled around here with all the different ideas.
Thank you, Jerry.
Have a good day.